Okay, welcome to Timeless Truths. Today is very special. I have a very special guest, and he's not just a special guest to the podcast, he's also very special to me. This is my son, Mark Pullen.
Hello.
And the reason I have my son on here is because when I originally talked about starting the podcast, this is something that we talked about, mother son, for a long time, because we have these really incredible conversations. And so we wanted to share just a little bit of our banter with you. And the other reason is because when my son listened to my podcast, he said it wasn't the authentic me, and I want y'all to catch a little bit of the authentic me. And so he's going to bring that out of me, the good, bad, and the ugly. So first of all, because the podcast is called Timeless Truths, I always share a timeless truth for the episode, and today's timeless truth I thought is very fitting, because I'm just going to call it "Life is the adventure you make it," because I feel like all of our life we've had an incredible adventure. I mean, we've gone skiing, we've gone fishing, we never let circumstances stop us. And so I wanted to share that too, especially because, I talked to a lot of single moms, and we went through that era. And I really want to encourage them that being a single mom isn't a limitation, and I want you to be able to share some of your experiences. And like I said, the good, bad, and the ugly, share what you saw growing up, and how it created you and molded you into the man that you are today.
I'm going to start by saying first, you're an awesome mom. I love you very much. I get bonus points if I make you cry. We'll get some authenticity on here one way or another. And then I'll say, also, I want to defend myself. I didn't say you weren't authentic. It was the voice. Your voice is a very presented, like it's good. I'm not polished well enough to do this in such a professional manner.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of default come off authentic, or maybe that's just the lipstick that I put on that pig by not having such a exercise stage voice or presence. But right. You do it really well. It's just foreign to me, because when we talk, we've
right.
I've known you my whole life, obviously, and you've known me my whole life.
Yeah.
So I don't get the presented voice often. We just get the real. But one of the things that we do very well is have these conversations, and it is cool to kind of open it up to like somebody else, because I wonder if people have these types of in-depth talks. Right. One of my favorite things that we talk about is God.
Yes.
And in the Bible, and it's cool when I'm nerding out or you're nerding out and we come together and God shows up in a way that we both seem so dumbfounded. Like, this is what I'm listening to, or this is what I heard, or this is a podcast, and this was the subject of that podcast. And she just gives me this look like, shut up. Oh my God, you're never going to believe this. And then we have these funny conversations that really not a lot of people like understand. So that is cool. But okay. So thirdly, what was it? It was growing up in the single mom thing.
Yeah.
Oh man. So this is hard to probably articulate, but I feel like I had a pretty unique childhood. We lived in trailers. We lived on other people's places for a period of time. We lived in a ranch in South Texas, secluded from everything except rattlesnakes and deer. We lived in a really cool place in Montana on a big piece of property in Montana that was really cool and adventurous. We've traveled a lot together. We've had a lot of adventures. So I would kind of surmise that in this. My experience of 40, so in my 40 years, I've come to learn that everyone's life is included with a certain amount of suffering. You're not going to escape that. By default, by being alive, there's going to be a certain amount of suffering. And I think, like, throughout your seasons of life, the amount of suffering changes. I think what people do well to address that is to practice gratefulness and understand that everything you go through, even if it's the hardest thing you've ever gone through, somebody's gone through something worse and somebody's handled it better than you have. So no matter your circumstances, no matter where you come from or where you are, somebody's met those challenges head on and done well. And I always look to other people for inspiration in that. I like to be happy by choice. This was a lesson I learned the hard way. But so you can't force anything on me. You can't make me feel anything. I can't make you feel anything.
Right, right.
So it's an unfair statement to say, you made me mad.
Ooh.
You might have done something that upset me. And maybe I'm emotionally dysregulated from that. But if I say that you made me mad, I give the power. I would give all my control over to you.
Mm-hmm.
So even though we had some crazy circumstances, I think we did the best out of making the most of it because we found ourselves in weird circumstances along the ways. But we always had a good time, and we always valued the small stuff. What's your love language? One of them's quality time, right?
Definitely
That's
quality
a big
time.
one.
Yes.
We found opportunities to have coffee and cappuccino together.
Mm-hmm.
We found opportunities to have long conversations on the road, traveling places
all the time.
We've done a pretty good job about staying close in conversation about things that are going on in my life, things that are going on in your life, through every stage of life that we've experienced. So we've I think together done a pretty good job. Sometimes you more than me, right? But you gotta kind of chase your kids through their life of like making those moments a priority, and just living that life together, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know how else you make lemonade out of some of the lemons that we probably got thrown, but
Well, and I want to go back to that because I remember talking to somebody, a friend of ours in Montana when we lived up there, and we were facing a lot of challenges. And it's like you said, I think first and foremost, God is the center of our universe, and we put God first. And I told my friend that because we were experiencing like seemingly insurmountable challenges at the time. And I told her, I was like, we're having to go through all of this stuff. How does anybody go through these things without God? And I was talking to somebody this past week who has young children, and they were asking me, how did you do it? And it's what you said. We had coffee. I said, we had coffee in the morning, and I did every devotional with you. I mean, for as long as I can remember it. Am I accurate in that?
yeah, I mean, I remember being somewhat disgusted in the morning some days. Like, I'm gonna drink this cappuccino because it's really good, and I'm having a hard time waking up, and I have to go to school, and I'm playing the game. I'm like listening to what you're saying. I'm tired. I'm grunting like teenagers do, but it sticks. And when we were talking about last night, like bring up a child in the way they should go. When they grow old, they won't depart from it. It doesn't say when they're teenagers they're gonna grasp it, hold on to it, and just adore you for pouring your heart into raising them. That's not been my experience, but it's your job. It's like part of your responsibility. So I commend you for taking that so seriously. I think it gave me a good baseline of how to operate with my kids. I had my kids young, so I wasn't yet to the point of growing old and not departing from it. So I put them through plenty of challenges and still do. But one thing that's remained important to me is showing affection. Like, my kids know that I love them.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean we get along all the time. Doesn't mean that I'm perfect. It doesn't mean that they're perfect. But they're not going to question whether or not they A, have a dad, B, does he love them, do I love them. And that's easy for me to do. I can show up and love them. Being a perfect human is not easy. I'm still getting old and trying to find that spot of like not departing from a lot of my childhood and the timeless truths, wink, that you instilled in me. But that's life, and that's the journey. And man, being a parent's freaking hard.
Yeah.
Probably the most challenging thing I've ever done. Maybe being a husband, the most challenging thing I've ever done. Like, you kind of love your kids like a little more because they're like part of you. So it's easier to be selfless for them, for me, than it is like my wife. I'm selfish and I'm like, I don't want to do your thing. But it hurts. Like, it's not free.
Right,
It,
right.
there's dues as a parent that you have to pay, and that price for admission, that barrier to entry into being a parent is like pieces of your heart.
Right.
It's like a hard path, hard path. I wish I knew how some people did it. Like, I have a buddy at work that tells me about a daughter, and he's like, "Yeah, we don't get along, and she lives in Florida, and and I'm like, I'm gonna cry like just hearing about this. I don't know how that happens, but I don't have the ability to disassociate from from that close relationship.
Right.
It's just, it's there. So, oh, I got one. I'll cry if I tell you this, but I got one.
Okay. Can I have one?
You go. Yeah,
Okay.
you go. I'll say
Because
mine.
I want to like encourage all of the parents out there with what he said. It wasn't always easy, and he didn't always show up, the way I expected him to, or like, you read the Bible, or you watch this show, or you listen to this podcast and about parenting. And it's like, oh, if I just do A, B, and C, then my child is going to, be the epitome of Proverbs 22:6. And that's a joke. And we're going to talk about that later. I'm training up the child. I'm training up the child. But he just admitted, like, sometimes I was like, I don't know if I even like you right now, but I was doing what, I felt like I was called to do. And I think that's why, because it's not a job and it's not just a responsibility. It really is a calling. And I took that seriously. Like, it was a mandate from God. I am turning this person over to you. I'm turning this human over to you for you to raise for my glory and to train them up in the way they should go. And I took that so seriously. And I told you, just like you said, I've known you your whole life, but I realized, like, I've known you 2/3 of my life. And the middle third of that was that raising of you. But now I get to enjoy the when they are old part. And we get to have these great conversations. And I get to see you go through the moments. And I'm going to throw in something before you cry. And that your middle son, who is going to be 14, probably by the time this comes out, because, it's like in a week, he's going to be 14. And he was staying with me earlier in the summer. And we found your Bible from high school. And I was telling him how, hey, let's read the Bible. Because that's one thing he said. He's like, every time I'm here, every morning you read the Bible. And I'm modeling that to him. And it's like, well, here's your dad's. And so he could get up in the morning and he could read the Bible. But what was more impactful to him than me modeling that was when he opened it up and he found your notes in your Bible from when you were his age. And you weren't even here, and you're modeling that to him. You're training him up by what he saw that you had done at his age. And that touched me more than anything.
Yeah, that's it makes me feel really good. I look forward one day to being able to leave my Bible to them, hoping they'll go through it and be able to see some of those notes, and it's almost like following in somebody's footsteps after they're gone. Like, it's a cool little path to walk down. It's very intimate. And then the things that I usually make notes on are things that surprise me, or things that like maybe God helps illuminate the scripture, or my just random comment. Like, I was reading yesterday in Exodus, I think. It was where God spoke to Moses in the burning bush, and he's like, "You're going to go free my people." And God's like, "No." Or Moses is like, "No, I'm not, I'll pass," right? Hard pass. I don't speak well. And he's like, who made the tongue? He gives him all these real, like, sassy remarks, which I love about God, especially Old Testament God. He's like, where were you when I found the foundations of the earth? Like, he's very sarcastic. I like it. But there was one thing he said after that. He goes, your cousin Aaron, I'm going to send him to help you. I'm going to teach y'all what to say and what to do. And then he says, he will be the speaker to the people for you. You will serve as God to him. And I was like, what does that mean? So all it did was give me this huge question mark of, like, what's the original translation? I'm in that stage now where I have to, like, unpack and dig deeper and solve these mysteries. And it was confusing to me. So all I could think of was, like, what was he really trying to say? Like, serve as God to him in what capacity? You're going to be his authority and he needs to listen to what you say because I'm going to talk to you and you need to instruct him, and we have this like chain of command thing, was what where my head was going. Or is there like some deeper meaning that I'm missing, you know? Anyway, I write notes in the Bible and it's very authentic. Like it tells my frame of mind while I'm reading. I'm like, what the crap is this? You know? It's like a little blueprint or map that they get to follow, an intellectual map where I'm chewing on this word, doing my due diligence to seek God in it and to uncover little hidden mysteries, because it's kind of what the Bible has become later on in my life. At the face value, when you hear these scriptures, they wash over you and you get a very like initial perspective of what you think they mean, from like, I heard it for the first time. I can do all things through Christ who is cool. All right, you know, for God so loved the world, cool. The real superficial verses that we just hear all the time, but we also kind of take for granted. And we start incorporating like the pretext and the context and the post text and like the story, what's going on, and like what was going on in Jerusalem back in 10 BC or like 1 AD. Like what is, the Romans are occupying, and you build a picture, man, and that's fun for me to leave these breadcrumbs along, hoping one day that my kids are like, what was Dad talking about Jesus? Like what, I think that'd be a fun little journey for them to take.
You just reminded me, because one of our things that we love to do, like one of our quality time, is watch movies together. And one of our favorite movies when you were younger was Indiana Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so like the whole series. But when you were talking, that's what it reminded me of. It's like, okay, you're uncovering this, and what does this mean? And it's like a mystery, and you're going and you're seeking the clues, and you're going to the next adventure. And then it's like, the famous one, and I know so many people have used this in a biblical context, when he goes to that cliff, and he has to just step out by faith into that, empty chasm, and then the bridge appears. That always reminds me, like, this is what life is like. This is the adventure of life, following after God, like reading the Bible. It's like we're Indiana Jones in our modern day life, but we can't do it without that map. We can't live this life. I don't understand how people think that the Bible is boring. I don't understand how people think that living a life for God is safe or stupid or, nerdy or whatever, because it is the most incredible adventure that would put any new cinematography movie to shame, because there is nothing like that. In fact, when we moved to Montana by faith, that was our little theme song. This is the Great Adventure by Stephen Curtis Chapman, and I'm dating myself.
I'm looking something up. So
okay. But again, because the timeless truth is that life is the adventure that you make it, I don't feel like, and I'm glad that my son is, confirming this with me, that I don't feel like you can live this life without God and the Bible being in the center of it. And I think it's going to surprise you how incredible it is. And going back to the scripture, because you are here, and this has been a joke for decades, it is Proverbs 22, verse 6, where it says, train up a child in the way they should go, and when they're old, they will not depart from it. And what do you always say?
When you were old.
It says when they are old.
Don't prematurely judge me, Give me some time, let me get some gray hairs.
Yeah. We probably need to wrap this up. So you had a point, and I want to...
Oh, we went in a different direction.
Okay.
But I'll make a comment. This is what I looked up. When I heard you saying, I don't know how people follow God.
Yeah.
Or think it's safe or like not an adventure. This is a quote called The Man in the Arena by Theodore Roosevelt. He says, "It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles, or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows the great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. It's easy to not follow God. There's no line. There's no standard. There's just and I think the devil kind of leaves you be. Like you can go do what's the satanic like their little saying is like, do what thou willst. Like do what you want. Like feel whatever feels good.
Yes.
And man, we all want to do that. I think your life kind of goes in an easier path if you just do those things.
Yeah.
It's sad to say, but they say the road to salvation is narrow. Narrow is the way, right? And the road to destruction is like is wide and easy and very comfortable. So the suffering is kind of like, what suffering do you choose? You're not going to be without suffering. It's just part of life. You're alive, therefore you suffer. So do I choose to suffer towards a goal, or upholding some standards that I was taught and that I believe in, and in honoring God to the best of my ability? There's plenty of struggle in that. There's struggle because I think the devil comes up against you. I think you have to really, it's like you versus you.
Yeah.
And you can almost look at somebody and surmise how they're doing with that battle. You can tell it by the expression on their face. You can tell it by their countenance. You can tell it by how enthusiastic they are in their day, generally doing whatever they want. Some days I'm losing that battle, right?
We all are.
but that's where the suffering and the struggle comes. Jesus says, pick up your cross and follow me. He doesn't say, hey man, pack up a lunch and we're going to go hit the beach. We're going to have a great time. It's going to be a beautiful, easy trip. It's more like, it'll be beautiful, but you're carrying a cross, which is heavy and uncomfortable and irritates your shoulder. It comes with blisters and splinters, and it's a load. And like Paul writes about how he prayed to have God remove that thorn from his flesh 3 times, and doesn't get the answer he wants in that prayer, because I don't think life is without those suffering moments. So when it is you versus you, you're trying to like kill some of that flesh off in your daily journey of carrying the cross. And I think that's the goal, right? Less of me, more of him. I'll tell you what I was going to say earlier, and we can wrap.
Okay.
We got a time limit?
We got, because yes.
Okay. It's a dangerous prayer to pray. Break my heart, Lord, for the things that break yours. Remember that song we used to sing all the time, like 90s?
Yes.
Yeah.
Again, we're aging ourselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My situation with Parker. I prayed that prayer. Yeah. I prayed that prayer the other day in church. And I said, I'm break my heart where your heart breaks. And he goes, I am.
Oh.
And I was like, what are you talking about? My heart's not broken. And then I knew, like, oh yeah, it is. And it was, here I go. Good job.
Thanks.
Okay. It was because he showed me immediately, this is how I feel when you're not wanting to spend time with me. I was like, woo, cool. So, man, that's the whole point. You struggle through all these things in life that you feel are front and center and take priority. But at the end of the day, like, all I want to do is hang out with my kids, my family. That's all you and that's all he wants.
That's all he wants.
So we're so preoccupied with like stupid stuff. But at the end of the day, he just wants to hang out with his kids. That's us. Yeah. So it's cool. But yeah, there's a cross in that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a great way to end, but I hope that leaves you wanting more. If you like this conversation, because we could talk for hours, but we just want to invite you in. And if you have questions, because, my son is very vulnerable when it comes to talking about our relationship and the way he was brought up, because like he said, he wasn't always, like living the way I thought that he should live or doing the things. And it's like, train them up in the way they should go. And when they're old, they will not depart from it. The departing from it was sporadic. And now we get to have these deep conversations because he gets it and he's going through it. And so I just want to encourage you, like, if you want to hear more of this conversation, let me know. Share this with a friend who may be, struggling in raising their kids right now. And I want to remind you, like he said, that God yearns for this relationship with us. And sometimes people look at my podcast or my courses because it's all about finding your fairy tale, and happily ever after isn't a lie. But it all boils down to that, our relationship with God. And I don't know if you've read the whole Bible, but when you get to the end in Revelation, he comes in as the King of Kings riding on a white horse. And what fairy tale does not have that? Like the king coming in because he loves you so much, riding in on that white horse. And that is the greatest fairy tale. That is true to life. That is the greatest love story ever told. And like I said, we could sit here and talk about it forever. But I just want to thank you guys for joining us today. And let me know if you want to hear more from my son, because this was, kind of selfishly enjoyable for me to get this opportunity to have this episode with him. So like I said, like it, share the episode, and remember, God is pursuing you every single day of your life, and your happily ever after doesn't have to be a lie.